Then, Aaron, Sangchul, and a group of additional players arrived at the scene. As they surveyed their surroundings, they were stunned by the sight before them, a field strewn with player corpses. Shocked, they immediately began to ask what had happened. Aaron quickly assessed the situation, his eyes narrowing at the figure standing among the bodies, covered head to toe in blood. He assumed that the blood-soaked individual must be the one responsible for the carnage. Ryu Min, observing the situation, noticed that it looked like Cho Young-sik had regained control. Cho Young-sik was known as the leader of the Young-sik gang and was widely regarded as the second-best fighter in the region. However, his personality was infamous for being aggressive and domineering. Young-sik's face was smeared with blood, and his expression was disturbingly intense, his eyes darting around suspiciously. Ryu Min understood that this was a volatile situation, like a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. He quickly calculated that it wasn't the right moment to act just yet. As he assessed his options, Young-sik slowly approached him, clearly waiting for some kind of reaction. With a calm demeanor, Ryu Min decided to bide his time and wait for the perfect opportunity. Meanwhile, Young-sik called out to him, asking where he had been. This caught the attention of both Aaron and Sangchul, who turned their focus to Black Scythe. Ryu Min, maintaining his composure, responded to Young-sik's question with a steady gaze, asking what he wanted. Young-sik, with a haughty smirk, stated his demand outright. He wanted Black Scythe to serve him as a subordinate. Ryu Min, known as Black Scythe, replied with a cold, "And why would I do that?" Undeterred, Young-sik spun his dagger in a menacing manner, threatening to spare Black Scythe's life only if he submitted to him. Instead of fear, Young-sik was met with the sound of Ryu Min's laughter. Amused by the audacity of the demand, Ryu Min asked if Young-sik intended to start a fight immediately. Still smiling, he added, "If you want me to spare you, you'll have to kneel before me." This bold statement caught Young-sik off guard, making him view Black Scythe as utterly insane. Cho Young-sik accused Black Scythe of not grasping the gravity of the situation, his frustration evident in his voice. He continued speaking, but Black Scythe swiftly cut him off, tauntingly asking if Young-sik was having trouble understanding what he had just said. With a cold smile, Black Scythe unsheathed his weapon and casually suggested that dying on the spot might be more satisfying for Young-sik. Caught off guard, Young-sik stared at the weapon in Black Scythe's hand, bewildered. He had no idea where such a powerful weapon had come from and could feel his confidence begin to waver. Panic crept into his mind as he realized he may have underestimated his opponent. Sensing his discomfort, Black Scythe taunted him further, asking, "What's the matter? Cat got your tongue?" Young-sik gritted his teeth, frustrated by his own hesitation. Trying to regain his composure, he loudly proclaimed his identity as the leader of the Young-sik gang and declared that he would never bow to anyone. His anger reached its peak, and he recklessly swung his weapon, challenging Black Scythe to a duel. In response, Black Scythe merely scoffed, recognizing Young-sik's notorious temper. He decided to stop provoking him further, knowing that things could become complicated if he pushed too hard. Black Scythe had a strategy in mind. Displaying his strength to win the votes of the players wasn't his intention. Young-sik could be useful for his plan during the third round as a representative. Additionally, he sensed that the angel would appear any moment. As if on cue, the angel materialized, calling for all players to gather. Young-sik, momentarily distracted by the sudden arrival, shifted his focus away from Black Scythe. Seizing the moment, Black Scythe remarked on Young-sik's good fortune and calmly advised him to choose his battles more wisely next time if he wished to avoid an untimely end. With that, Black Scythe turned to leave, leaving Young-sik standing there, his anger simmering just beneath the surface. Young-sik stood frozen in place, his face a mask of rage, but beneath the surface, he felt a wave of relief. Though he appeared fierce and resolute, a part of him was worried that the tension might trigger a heart attack. Still, he silently vowed that Black Scythe would one day witness his true power. For now, he would let him go, but if chosen as the representative, he would make sure to avenge the humiliation he had suffered. The angel, her voice echoing across the battlefield, asked the players if they had selected their delegates. Glancing at the scattered bodies, she dryly noted that they had accomplished more than just talk in the 3 hours they had spent together. With a dismissive tone, she reminded them that whether they lived or died was of no concern to her. Then, she called for the voting process to begin. A screen appeared in front of each player, announcing the start of the election for the region's representative. Every player had one vote, and the candidate with the most votes would assume the role. To cast their vote, they simply needed to focus on the player they wished to support. The angel warned that anyone failing to vote within the 5-minute window would automatically lose and be eliminated from the next round. The countdown began. Some players murmured the instruction to themselves, "Look at who I want to vote for," as they scanned the crowd to decide on their choice. Most of them fixed their gaze on young Sik, who wore a confident, smug grin, assuming all eyes were on him. Then, unexpectedly, his expression shifted. He turned his attention to a woman with round cheeks and demanded why she wasn't looking directly at him. Startled, the woman seemed unsure of how to respond. Seeing her hesitation, young Sik grew increasingly agitated and threatened to kill her. Stammering, she quickly defended herself, insisting that she had voted for him. Frustrated, young Sik continued to shout threats, demanding everyone's attention. He scanned the crowd, threatening anyone who dared to avert their gaze. Finally, the voting time ran out. The angel clapped her hands, announcing that the voting period had ended and instructed them to tally the votes. A large screen materialized above, revealing the results. In fifth place was Cute Baby Bird with 5 votes, and Chubby Cheek Steamed Bun came in fourth with 6 votes. With 249 votes, Black Dragon secured third place, while Black Scythe came in second with 2,077 votes. Topping the leaderboard with 2,412 votes was Life is a Documentary. Although Young Sik, who went by Life is a Documentary, received the highest number of votes, he wasn't pleased. His irritation deepened as he saw that Black Scythe had garnered significant support. Young Sik glared at the players who had voted against him, and many of them avoided meeting his gaze, aware of his anger. After the voting concluded, the angel announced that Life is a Documentary had been chosen as the region's representative. A window screen appeared, indicating that Young Sik had gained the power of command, allowing him to issue directives to other players. His blood-stained face broke into a wide grin. He immediately planned to use this newfound authority to rally the players against Black Scythe, determined to make him regret not killing him earlier. As Young Sik examined the details of his command ability on the screen, he realized its limitations. He could give direct orders to players, but only those without a class, and he could only control one player at a time, up to a maximum of 10 uses. Discontent flickered across his face at the restrictions, especially the fact that players with a class could resist his commands. The angel's voice cut through the tension, asking the players if they believed this was the end. However, she hinted that a hidden mission still remained for this round. Her cryptic words puzzled the players, who couldn't quite grasp what she meant. A window screen then appeared, revealing that the second round contained a side quest. If they completed it, they would receive a class advancement item and a coupon for 50% off today's item. Sungkal and Arin seemed confused about the concept of class advancement items. The angel clarified that these would appear in the quest window once players reached level 10. When one of the players questioned how they were supposed to level up without any monsters, the angel's expression darkened, and she informed them that the forest was teeming with creatures. Only 80,000 players nationwide would have the opportunity to advance to a class this round, the angel added. She then revealed that someone in their region had already been granted a class advancement, sparking curiosity among the players about who it could be. Sensing their interest, the angel asked if they wanted to check the results of the side mission to find out more. This possibility excited the group even more. The results of the second round subquest appeared on a large screen, revealing the standings for each region. At the top was the level 16 Reaper, Black Scythe, followed by the level 10 Dark Knight, Heavenly Demon, in second place, and a level 10 Shaman in third. It quickly became evident that Black Scythe was the only player in their area to have advanced to a class. The realization dawned on the other players that he was now in a class of his own, the Reaper class. This knowledge brought a mix of fear and respect, as they murmured among themselves, connecting his class to the scythe he wielded. Young Sik, who had hoped to use his command authority to control Black Scythe, was seething with frustration. He found it infuriating that Black Scythe had managed to advance so quickly, making him immune to his control. The timing seemed oddly perfect to him, almost as if fate itself were playing a hand. The angel then explained that rankings for the second round had been assigned based on who completed the subquest the fastest. Looking at the leaderboard, she announced that Black Scythe was the first in their region to change his class and had also claimed the top spot overall. She seemed genuinely impressed and even commented on how fitting his nickname was, given his new class. She asked him how he had chosen the name Black Scythe and if he had known in advance that he would acquire the Reaper class. With a casual demeanor, Ryu Min responded that he had no idea he would end up in a class that matched his moniker so well. The angel, intrigued, suggested that perhaps it was fate for him to become a Reaper. Ryu Min nodded, mentally noting that the angel seemed unaware of how the Reaper class was actually obtained. They only knew it was something unique. She found the situation fascinating and remarked that it was surprising there was only one player in the area who had managed to change their class. Furthermore, she clarified that Black Scythe would be the only one immune to authority orders. Her statement caused confusion among the players, who questioned what she meant by saying the authority command would not affect Black Scythe. The angel paused, seemingly considering whether to elaborate further, leaving everyone in suspense about what might come next. She continued by clarifying that anyone belonging to a class is exempt from the authority of command. This meant that the region representative had no power to control Black Scythe. Moreover, there were only 10 opportunities to use the command authority, so being named a region representative did not grant unlimited power. The players absorbed her explanation, but Cho Young-sik's frustration grew. He had hoped to keep the limitations of his authority hidden from everyone. The angel then turned her attention back to Black Scythe, proposing that he should receive a reward for being the fastest to complete his class. With a snap of her fingers, 2 screens appeared before him. The first screen congratulated him on achieving the highest rank in the area, while the second celebrated his position as the top-ranked player across all regions. Ryu Min, tapping on the screens, claimed his rewards. For being the first in the area, he received a ticket of low-rank rare armor. Additionally, for placing first across all regions, he was given the choice of a special reward from a collection of rare armor pieces. The options included a leather armor of a skilled hunter, armor of a medieval knight, and a well-ventilated mage robe. His decision was already clear. The first option seemed too intricate, and the third offered little in terms of defense. So, he selected the second choice, the leather armor of the skilled hunter. Next, he was asked to pick from a set of unique rewards, 3 experience boosts valid until the end of round 3, 3,000 gold, or information about the third round. Understanding that the next round would involve a large number of monsters, he chose the 3-time experience boost, knowing it would be the most advantageous. The angel announced that the rewards had been distributed. A golden glow surrounded Ryu Min's body, as well as those of the other participants, signaling the completion of the reward ceremony. The angel declared that everyone could now return home. With a sinister grin, she hinted that the third round would be far more challenging, assuring them, "I promise." Before the players could teleport, a large screen displayed the results of the second round. Only 873,500,205 survivors remained across all regions, with 4,998 survivors in their current region, ESKS 455. The screen then flashed another message, announcing that their souls would soon be transferred to their physical bodies in the current dimension, with the next round set to begin on March 1, 2023. The message concluded by wishing them luck in surviving. As the notification ended, the soul transfer began. Suddenly, Young-min awoke with a start, shouting in panic. He glanced down and was relieved to see his hand was still intact, his arm was still attached to his body. He had assumed he might return with his normal body if he survived, but now, a sense of dread crept over his face. He swore he would never cross paths with Black Scythe again or even think of confronting him. Meanwhile, Sungchul praised Aaron for her hard work. Aaron, in response, stated that he had put in a great deal of effort while she had done nothing. Turning to face him, she smiled broadly and thanked him. Feeling awkward, Sungchul cleared his throat, looked away, and adjusted his tie, saying it was his duty as her bodyguard and manager. Aaron expressed her desire to thank Black Scythe again and asked if there was any way to do so. Sungchul explained that they had no way of finding him, as they had no idea what he really looked like. He also mentioned that Black Scythe seemed to prefer remaining anonymous. Aaron acknowledged this, though it didn't please her. Sun Chul added that when he had asked Black Scythe for his account number to provide compensation, he had initially refused, suggesting that he didn't want anyone to discover his identity. Aaron understood, but the realization left her feeling unsatisfied. Seeing her disappointment, Sun Chul suggested that if she truly wanted to express her gratitude, she could try to find him in the next round and give him something then. Aaron's face brightened at the idea. Aaron thought it was a clever idea. She began to contemplate how to properly show her gratitude to Black Scythe. As their conversation wrapped up, Sun Chul suggested she get some rest, promising they could discuss it further in the morning. Aaron nodded and advised him to be careful. Just as Sun Chul was about to step into the elevator, his phone buzzed. He answered the call from President Ma while stepping inside. Noting that the president was still awake, Sun Chul heard him mention that he had just started sipping on whiskey after his return. Sun Chul congratulated President Ma on advancing to the Dark Knight class. The president asked about their experience in their region. Sun Chul explained that both he and Aaron had only managed to reach level 8 before getting injured halfway through, which prevented them from continuing their hunt. President Ma sounded disappointed by this news. As Sun Chul reached the parking lot, he asked if it was a good time to discuss the matter, indicating he had something important to report. He revealed it concerned Black Scythe. President Ma immediately instructed him to come to the hotel so they could talk in person. Sun Chul agreed, saying he would be there in 20 minutes. He started driving, unaware that someone was watching him. From the shadows, a man observed Sun Chul's car as it exited the parking lot. It was Ryu Min, quietly tailing him. Ryu Min wondered if Sun Chul was heading towards Ma Kyungrak. 10 minutes earlier, Ryu Min had been reviewing his stats window while Ryu Won was asleep on the bed nearby. The display indicated that he needed to focus on the target he wished to track. He visualized Sun Chul in his mind and spoke his name. The window confirmed the name and face, and then indicated that the target's location was now being tracked. The screen showed the target was just 9 meters away. As the distance on the display suddenly shifted to 23 meters, then 56 meters, Ryu Min realized Sun Chul had likely taken the elevator, based on how quickly the numbers were changing. Ryu Min grew curious about Sun Chul's early morning destination, suspecting he might be heading toward Ma Jiangrak. Not wasting a moment, he quickly slipped into his jacket and dashed out the door, determined to confirm his hunch. He felt fortunate that he had decided to track Sun Chul down right after his return. Overhead, thick clouds obscured the full moon, blocking its light from piercing through. Ma Jiangrak, meanwhile, was gazing up at the overcast sky, thinking it was an ideal night for a pursuit. However, he chose to remain still for the moment, as he needed to receive Sun Chul's report. He mulled over how Black Scythe had clinched first place in both the initial and second rounds, wondering what kind of player could stay so enigmatic and yet so dominant. His fingers drummed restlessly on the arm of the couch. The thought of Black Scythe's ranking clearly unsettled him. He began to speculate whether Black Scythe would have targeted his subordinate. If so, Ma Jiangrak knew that such a move would be a direct challenge to him. And he was not the type to tolerate such defiance lightly. His expression remained stern and focused. He had no intention of allowing anyone, not even the player ranked first, to stand in his way. A sense of tension filled the room as he considered the possibilities. Outside, a figure stood by the door, finally knocking. Sun Chul's voice came through, asking if he could enter. Ma Jiangrak gave a nod of assent, inviting him in. Rising to his feet, Ma Jiangrak greeted Sun Chul, who immediately expressed his gratitude. "It's all thanks to you, President Ma, that we're even meeting again," Sun Chul said respectfully. President Ma, wearing a faint smile, replied, "I've done nothing, we weren't even in the same region." Sun Chul bowed slightly, his tone earnest as he added, "Just knowing you're out there inspires me." President Ma chuckled softly, amused by Sun Chul's flattery. "You have a talent for saying the right things," he observed. "It's not flattery," Sun Chul replied with sincerity. "It's the truth." He then congratulated Ma on making it through the round. President Ma shrugged, brushing it off. "Round 2 was a breeze, a walk in the park," he said. Sun Chul, however, continued to praise him, this time for his advancement to a new class. Ma responded humbly, "Just luck, that's all." But Sun Chul insisted, securing second or third place is no small feat, even luck is a skill in itself. He concluded with admiration, saying, "To serve someone like you, President Ma, is the greatest privilege I could ever have." President Ma set his glass down and, with a slight grin, remarked that Sun Chul's flattery was too obvious. He guessed that Sun Chul needed something from him. "So," he asked, "am I right in sensing that you have a favor to ask?" Feeling anxious, Sun Chul hesitated before asking how President Ma had obtained an advancement item. President Ma waved it off, saying it wasn't a big deal. "The item just dropped while I was hunting monsters," he replied casually. What he didn't reveal was that the random rune fragment he acquired had been a result of his Dark Knight rune. He recalled that the angel had told them to check their inventory to see a gift she had prepared. That was when he found the Dark Knight rune, which not only boosted all of his stats but also cloaked his weapon in a dark aura that inflicted extra damage on opponents. When he checked his inventory, he noticed that upon reaching level 10, the rune would automatically advance him to the unique class of Dark Knight. Even though he appeared puzzled by this, he quickly understood the significance of the item. He realized he had gotten extremely lucky to receive such a powerful, cheat-level item in the first round. But despite his good fortune, he kept this information to himself, even from trusted subordinates whom he considered family. He knew well how quickly people could change when it came to matters of power and advantage. Shifting the conversation, President Ma's tone turned serious as he asked directly, "Who injured you? Was it Black Scythe?" Sun Chul seemed startled by the assumption and quickly corrected him, explaining that Black Scythe had actually saved his life. Curious, President Ma urged him to elaborate. He asked if pursuing the actress, Erin, had led to his near-death experience. Sun Chul admitted that they might have died if Black Scythe hadn't intervened. He explained further, Erin might have survived, but she would have been left with psychological scars too severe to continue her career in the entertainment industry. President Ma nodded, his interest piqued. The story was turning out to be more complicated than he initially thought. President Ma seemed to be deep in thought. He had nearly lost a valuable subordinate, and it had almost jeopardized his business interests. Breaking the silence, President Ma asked about the fate of the thugs involved, assuming they had been killed. Sungchul clarified that while Black Scythe had inflicted agonizing pain on them, it wasn't fatal. Curious, President Ma asked why Black Scythe had spared them. Sungchul explained that, according to Black Scythe, there was no point in killing them. His logic was simple: as the overall population dwindles, so does the pool of those who survive. President Ma acknowledged that the reasoning made sense, though he remained concerned about what these individuals might do in the future. Taking a thoughtful sip of his whiskey, he reflected that both his assets and subordinates were only alive because of Black Scythe. He felt indebted to him for that and remarked that he should offer some financial compensation. Sungchul mentioned that he had already brought up the topic, but Black Scythe had refused and left immediately afterward. President Ma was slightly surprised to hear that the offer of compensation had been declined. He speculated that perhaps Black Scythe wanted to avoid revealing his identity. With the conversation seemingly drawing to a close, both men stood up. President Ma described Black Scythe as a cautious individual. He instructed Sungchul to express his gratitude if he encountered Black Scythe in the next round, genuinely appreciating the man who had kept both Erin and Sungchul alive. Sungchul promised he would convey the message. Moreover, President Ma ordered Sungchul to keep an eye on Black Scythe and offer assistance if needed, stating his philosophy of never leaving debts unpaid. "As you wish, sir," Sungchul replied. Just before Sungchul could leave, President Ma remembered something crucial and made a bold request. With a menacing glare, he demanded to know the nicknames of the thugs involved. Meanwhile, outside the hotel, Ryu Min was concealed behind a tree, silently observing. He glanced around, thinking to himself how fiercely loyal a dog Sungchul truly was. That, we must conclude for today. If you enjoyed this part and want to see what happens next, please like and subscribe. Thank you.